Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to round number 2's reaction at Imola of the F1 Grand Prix 2021. Now, today's race, it wasn't exactly a dull fest, was it? It was chaotic. It was rain, it started intermediate conditions, then we had the little switch over, there was rain on and off, it was stopping raining, then it started raining a bit more, then we had drivers on inters and wets, and then we had the switch over to the dries, which was quite a fast switch over to be honest. As soon as Sebastian Vettel went on to the dry tyres, he was the first driver that actually attempted it, he went onto the dry tyres and then was slow for I think 3 laps. And then all of a sudden, everybody else dived in for those dries. Hamilton decided to do an extra lap, which ended up costing him dearly in the end. But yeah, so Hamilton's extra lap on those inters cost him, I think, about 6 seconds. When he came out the pits, he was about 5 to 6 seconds behind Verstappen. And yeah, that's just the start, guys. But we'll start on Saturday. Now, Saturday's quali, you know, it was one of those where track limits was a thing. So they were enforcing track limits quite a lot, you know, wherever they could. And yeah, Lando Norris fell to that one. He was in Q3. He set a lap that would have been P3 on the grid, but it got deleted due to extending, I believe, on was it turn 9? His wheel went over by a few centimetres and that was an invalidation in the rules, which is very disappointing for him, but I think that meant he started in P7 or P8 or something back there with Bottas, which is, I mean, no one knows why Bottas was back there. So that's a long story. He just was not on the pace that day, and I mean, that continued into Sunday, but we'll get into that shortly, because you can probably see the thumbnail. Now, yeah, it was interesting on Saturday. Yuki Tsunoda had probably the world's slowest crash that caused absolutely huge damage to the rear of that car. That car was ruined. That AlphaTauri car was absolutely wrecked with a minuscule amount of contact with the wall. It was very weird, that one. But yeah, so that was Saturday's quali, and we had Hamilton on pole with Perez getting his first front row ever, I believe, and Max in third. Now, we get to the race start. Now, it's intermediate tyres, as I said, and everyone gets a good launch. Obviously, we have a few issues on the outlap. Sebastian Vettel has an issue. I think Kimi went off on the lap to the grid before they obviously do all the messing about on the grid. But yeah, Seb Vettel had some sort of brake issue which they managed to fix and he started the race. Don't know how, but yeah, we got to the 5 red lights and everyone looked like they got an initial good getaway. But Max Verstappen in P3 on the grid managed to get such a good getaway that he got down the inside of Lewis Hamilton to turn 1. And then going into turn 2, it looked like, I mean, 2 don't go into 1 in that corner, let's be real. And in my opinion, Hamilton should have backed out. Did not back out. Went across the curb, gave himself some floor damage and a tiny bit of wing damage, which probably resulted in his little off later on in the race. But yeah, it was a very interesting start to the race. Max got the whole shot and he was away. Perez, I think he had an okay start. He was in P3, I believe, off the line. But then it all went wrong for Perez later in the race when he decided it was a great idea to go off track in the safety car conditions and then re-overtake the 2 cars he lost the position to. Now, he got a deserved 10-second time penalty for that, which he did serve in the pit stop. But yeah, ridiculous from Perez. Don't know what he was thinking when he re-overtook cars under the safety car. But yeah, back to the front. Now, Max Verstappen, I mean, he probably would have had the pace to win the race even if Lewis didn't have his issues. So Max was just rapid today. He just kept disappearing into the distance. Max deserved the win. He was just fantastic. He went away. He won the race. We won't even discuss Max anymore. He had a little incident on the start after the red flag. But yeah, other than that, it was smooth sailing for Max Verstappen and got the deserved 25 points. Now, talking of Hamilton. Now, Hamilton decided when the track was drying and they went onto the dry tyres, he decided when they were lapping a couple of cars. I think he went down the inside of Russell. He decided instead of staying on the dry line, he'd go across the wet line, which he did discuss post-race. And he shouldn't have done it realistically. He should have stayed behind him for the corner. Went down the inside in the wet conditions and slid off the track. Now it was quite comical at the time because it was a really slow off, and then he spent a lot of time trying to reverse, trying to drive forward. He drove into the wall at one point. Then he reversed, and he had to reverse all the way off from the gravel onto the track again. It was bizarre. Very, very interesting incident, and he did manage to recover and keep going. But on the same lap, I believe, or maybe the lap after, because Hamilton had to cruise back then to fix damage. And on the same lap, we had a very, very big shunt, which did bring out the red flag and actually saved Hamilton's blushes, because Hamilton got lapped and was down in 9th place. Which we'll get onto that in a minute, because that bit confuses me. But yeah, so I don't know what was going on. Bottas had absolutely no pace. He was about to be passed by Russell. George Russell had the pace to go past him, and was making the move with the DRS activated. And then for some reason, this is my opinion before people go off at me in the comments, I believe Bottas went to cover the position too late, realised he was going to cover the position too late, then jolted back to the other side of the track, which in turn forced Russell slightly onto the grass, and then Russell had no control because the grass was still wet, obviously, because it's been raining. So Russell went onto the grass. That was all over for Russell. He was around and unfortunately slid into the side of Bottas, causing them both to basically slide into the wall at high speeds. And how neither of them were hurt, I don't know. I think Bottas got winded quite badly. But yeah, it was a huge impact. And in my opinion, Bottas is at fault. Maybe stretching towards a racing incident. But yeah, it was very poor. And an absolutely horrific incident. I'm glad they're both okay, but it was awful. But that did bring out the red flag. We won't even talk about their reactions on track towards each other. It was pretty poor from both of them, to be honest. There's no need for Bottas to swear, and there's no need also for Russell to then tap him on the head. It just looked a bit like kindergarten, really. It was a bit stupid and unnecessary. Yes, it was a horrible crash, but leave it there. You do not need to go and show on-track aggression towards each other, because you've got fans that are kids, you've got fans that all around the world watching that, and they've just showed stupid aggression towards each other on circuit, which should be kept behind closed doors, especially when they're both part of the same sort of Mercedes crew in a way, because Russell's the reserve driver, isn't he? I believe for Mercedes. It was a weird one. But yes, that's one for Toto Wolff to be dealing with, and that'll be interesting for him. So that's going to go down well. But the red flag absolutely saved Lewis, because he was a lap down, like I said. Front wing damage, floor damage. Realistically, going to be lucky to get maybe 7th, 6th place. But then the red flag came out, understandably, obviously, because they couldn't drive with that. But then for some reason on the restart, normally, if you're going to have a safety car restart, you go with the back markers as well, in the positions they're in. You don't let them all unlap each other unless you're doing a grid restart, a stand-in start. So they let everybody unlap themselves, and then, some reason, did a safety car restart, a rolling restart. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, because that's not how it works. You're supposed to, if you're going to let them all unlap each other, it's a grid restart. If you're not, let them restart in the positions they're currently parked in the pit lane, and they can unlap themselves if they've got the pace to. But no, the FIA did it backwards, and in my opinion, to try and help Hamilton, try and give us a little bit of a race to watch. And that opinion might not go down well with some of you, but I mean, if you don't like the truth, you don't like the truth. That's your problem. But yeah, realistically, it was stupid and it didn't make much sense. But yeah, in the end, I mean, you can't take away what Lewis did in the end. 9th place, just P2 as well, finishing only 22 seconds, I think exactly, off of the back of Verstappen. But yeah, it's strange restart that they did. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. I would love to know what they were thinking. Maybe they were gonna do a standing restart, then change their mind. But that's the only way that would make sense to me personally, because I'm quite sure not how it works. But yeah, you know, what would I know? I've only been watching it all my life. But yeah, so that was strange. But the podium, Lando Norris getting on that podium in P3, nearly had P2, but obviously Lewis was a lot quicker. Lando done amazingly on the restart, passing the Ferrari, or one Ferrari or both Ferraris, I'm not overly sure. But yeah, next thing I saw, he was in P2, so brilliant from Lando. Managed to finish himself in P3 as well to make up for the 3rd place in the grid he should have had if he didn't run a slight bit wide on quali. But yeah, interesting one, very good race. Ferrari 4th and 5th, that's huge for Ferrari, very, very big improvement. And yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? It was an entertaining race. There was incidents, there was a bit of fun, there was a bit of enjoyment, there was a red flag. I mean, Lewis got lucky, but I mean, you don't become a 7-time world champion without a little bit of luck. Maybe he's the luckiest driver of all time. Maybe I'm trying to poke a few of you to get a reaction. If you want to give me a reaction, then go ahead. I'll enjoy it. I'll enjoy a bit of banter in the comments. But yeah, realistically, I thought it was a great race. Probably the best race we've watched in a while. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed my opinion for today's race with Max Verstappen getting the win. And yeah, I've been Chris12LFC, and that's all I need to say. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time, I believe, for the next race. And there'll be some league races in between, so you're not going to go without a video. Right, I'll see you later.